Good afternoon, everybody. It's a lovely blustery Saturday here in the UK. Decided to do another project, even though I said that we weren't going to do a new one until 2021. We're just about, I think, to go back into a lockdown leading up to Christmas here in the UK. I don't know where you are and what's going on with you. Hopefully everybody's safe and keeping well. I've not had an amazing couple of weeks really. I've trapped my sciatic nerve in my leg and I've sort of been just resigned to the sofa for 2 weeks. Been that bad. I've not even wanted to do any stitching, which really isn't like me at all. But give myself a bit of a talking to today, and I've got myself up in my studio, tidied up a little bit, and I've had a couple of ideas flying through my head. So I decided I would do a little miniature project leading up to Christmas. I know quite a lot of people have done their books and they're looking absolutely delicious. Please send me any more pictures for the community video. I'll try and get quite a big one done leading up to Christmas for everybody to have a look at. So I've decided to do a little miniature, the 12 pages of Christmas, just with something to keep everybody going. And I've got a little bit of an obsession with collecting vintage tins. I have loads of these tins that I collect. So I've got all my linen buttons in one. I just bought these the other day. They're absolutely stunning. Loads of glass. These never really used glass beads before. I'm not really a blingy, shiny person, but even I couldn't resist these. Absolutely beautiful. I find a lot of this stuff on eBay and at vintage fairs, but I just love collecting old tins. I just think they're just great for storing things in, and they look attractive. My daughter knows that I have this obsession for tins, so she made me, she bought a tiny little tin for Mother's Day for me, just to make an emergency sewing kit. And this is her doodling all the way around the edge. This one's a new tin that she painted and then drew over, and I absolutely love it. So that sits in my little studio. I end up with tiny little tins. I think this was from my mum's. Used to have pins in it, but I end up having tins within tins. So in this one here, they're really handy. Just tiny little tins, so little collections of bits and pieces. So I love tins, and I've been down to our local little second-hand market and picked up a couple of little tins. This one I got from a friend of mine on Instagram that does a load of vintage selling with loads of different bits and pieces. So it's going to be a little book again that's going to fit inside a tin. So you could just use a brand new tin. I know I've done things in the past where you can buy sweets and lozenges that come in little metal tins, all different shapes and sizes. It could be something really teeny tiny. It could be something a little bit bigger. It's going to be totally up to you as to what sort of size you would like to work with your little book. So I decided I was going to use this one, which is Peritex dressings. Mainly because I'm going to use a piece of vintage quilting. I keep going through different obsessions, so my latest obsession now is buying pieces of vintage quilting, and I'd got this little piece that was lemon yellow, and I just thought, oh, that so matches what's going on. If you've been following the collaboration that I'm doing, I've been using some little squared pieces of quilting. I just think they're so lovely, and I just love the idea that somebody sat and made this. It always is a little bit sad that they've been cut up, but I'm using them for something else. It's not like they're going to waste or anything like that, and they do become something loved. And I love the idea as well that it carries on and it becomes something else. So I've got loads of different bits and pieces. I've got some extra bits as well ready for the project in 2021, just to give you a little bit of a heads up with that one. It's going to be another book, I do know that, and I'm just starting to put all the plans together for that project. And this one was going to be a little mini project for next year, but because we're going into lockdown and I just thought I'm not going to be able to go anywhere, I just thought I'd really like something just to sit and do on an evening, but something that's little, can just be done quite quickly. So going to make your tin, and we're going to make a little blank book that's going to fit inside your tin. So your sizes will depend on the size of tin that you're going to do, but the basic construction for everybody's books, I'll explain how I'm going to construct mine. But again, if you've got different ways of constructing things, please feel free to adapt what's going on. So I've started putting my little book together. So I've got my little quilt. So the cover is going to be a strip. Now I've got a piece of vintage quilting, but it doesn't have to be. So I know, like, we're on lockdown, or you may be on lockdown wherever you are, and you might not have access to different sorts of things. So just use whatever you've got in your stash. If you wanted to make something like this, it's basically 2 pieces of fabric with some wadding in between, and then this has got some really cute little running stitches just to quilt it all together. So you could actually make your own if you wanted to. We are going to stitch into this as well, so don't worry about it being overly decorative, or you might just decide you've got a beautiful piece of fabric that you just want to use as your cover. But the idea about the cover is it's going to fold over, and then it's going to have a little flap, I suppose, that's going to go over the edge. So the piece that I've done, my tin that I have got, is 4 inches square. So I've done my little book 3.5 inches, so it just fits in really snugly into the tin there. Okay, the pages then, I've just got it's just a bit of this, it's lining off a curtain. It's a bit like a calico, a cotton, sort of medium weight, so it's not too thin but it's not too heavy. This is going to be the base of our pages, and there's different things obviously that you can do with this. I'm going to leave mine plain because I want to keep it quite plain and then do the stitching that's going to go over the top, but you could hand dye it, it could be coloured pieces, it's totally up to you. So a little bit like when we did the other book, I'm doing 2 bits of fabric for each of the signatures. Okay, and I've made this slightly smaller than the cover, so when it's folded, my cover's 3.5 by 3.5, so I've got 3.5 inch by 3.5, whereas the bits that are going inside are going to be 3 by 3. But you'll need to adjust yours to whatever size tin or box you want to do. You might not want to do it in a tin, you might just want to make a little book and just have something to sit and stitch. So what you're going to do with your signatures is 2 pieces of fabric folded in half, and the basic construction of this is going to be just like we did the other one. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, now what will happen then, which is why this is going to be called the 12 pages of Christmas, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through. You'll have 12 pages, and we're going to do 12 mini pieces of work that then you're going to attach inside your book. Okay, because we're not going to work directly in here, you can stitch your edges up, but I'm not going to stitch it into this bit yet because I would like to do a little bit of stitching on the cover, which I'll come to obviously when we've done most of the book. But it'll also mean then once I put the bits in, I'll know where this fold's going to be. So the flap that I've done, I know that that's going to fit and that'll stitch nicely there. The flap, I've made it so it's just over halfway, so that if this book gets a little bit thicker, I know that I'm going to have the opportunity just to move that backwards. So it's not as deep as my tin, so that when I put it in, if this is filled out a bit with all the stitching we're going to do, it should hopefully fit in the tin as well. But what I will do is I will just stitch these bits together so that I have got my book. The idea then is going to be, like I said, the 12 pages of Christmas, and we're going to do little pieces of work that we'll do separately, and then we're going to tack them onto the pages. So we're not going to work directly in here, you're going to work on little bits of fabric. And what I will do is, we've got 8 weeks up to Christmas, so I'll probably post these on my Instagram, which is Handmade by Anne. and I will do prompts on the Instagram page, but I'll also come back and do little prompts on here as well, so people can catch up with what's going on. But the main bit to start off with is the blank book that we're going to do. So I'll have that all stitched together. That'll be there. And then when I've done that, you need to look out for prompt number 1, which will come at the beginning of November. I'll probably do a couple of prompts a week, and then we'll have a little bit of time just before Christmas to do the outside of the book. So there it is, 12 pages of Christmas. I hope you're going to join in, and I really, really look forward to seeing what everybody's going to do. I will do another Sew for the Soul hashtag, so it'll be Sew for the Soul 12 pages of Christmas, and hopefully you'll join in and share everything that you've been doing. So stay safe. If you are going into lockdown, I've got a little project now to keep you entertained and keep you going. Even though I was doing 1 project this year, we've ended up now with 3 projects, which is quite exciting, but it's quite nice to have something to be able to sit and do. So I'll see you soon when I do my next update. Okay, love you lots. Bye bye.